By neglecting your curiosity, you are neglecting certain parts of yourself. Hey guys, and welcome back to this new episode of Complexity of Contrast. I feel honored that you decided to join today, and honestly, I'm really excited for this episode because it's going to be about curiosity, and that is something that I have always found so fascinating. The fact how personal curiosity is. Like, have you ever thought about the fact that everyone has some sort of curiosity within them, but everyone has like a natural magnetic force almost. It's so fascinating to me. Like, literally, the fact that I have friends that feel curious about like science and how the brain works and cells, etc. While I'm like pulled towards like more artsy stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I just love the way how curiosity works, even though it's still like a really fake concept to me. But in this episode, I wanted to discuss something that I actually didn't know I was struggling with, because it's about the negative association with being curious. And I think, honestly, when I started thinking about it, I was like, huh, what do you mean? Like, being curious is such a positive thing. And I am truly convinced that it is necessary, it is powerful. It's literally a skill to be curious. But that does not mean that you cannot experience being curious as something difficult. Because honestly, until a couple of hours ago, I did not even know that I struggled so much with curiosity and my perspective on it. So, yeah, actually, it's so funny that I was writing about something completely else, and maybe you enjoy the question as well. I ask myself, why do I make art? What drives me to create? And this is a question that I reflect on quite a lot, and I find it really hard to find an answer. But honestly, today something just came up, and I was like, wait, I never thought about it this way. Because today I wrote down that I create art to allow myself to be curious. And when I wrote that down, I was like, hold on, there's way more to this than I might at first think. There's so much to unload here. So we're gonna discuss that thought pattern today, and I hope you will enjoy it. So, yeah, for the people who do not know me, I'm Anastasia. I'm the host of Complexity of Contrast. And as you might have already noticed, this is just a brain dump. You're literally gonna be in my flow of thoughts, stream of consciousness. So I hope you like it. And if you find this subject interesting, definitely leave your thoughts on it. And if you have different opinions, different perspectives, definitely let me know. I would love to hear that, honestly. So, yeah. So, coming back to what I wrote down, that I wanted to allow myself to be curious, I realized that I did not always have a good relationship with curiosity. Actually, for the longest time, I viewed it as something pretty negative. And you might think, like, where did that come from? Like, what do you mean? So, to me, actually, I needed to think back of the moment when I was working in France as an entertainer. I love to work with kids. I also prepare language courses for them, and I don't know, it's just I love working with young people because they give me so many different insights, and one of them links to curiosity actually. So, as many people do know, kids have a lot of questions. And I remember that when I was working, you have like 80 kids around you, and everybody's asking you questions, and it's just really overwhelming, and you're like, what is going on? And I remember my colleague getting so frustrated, like, why do they just keep on asking things? And all the parents would just kind of, honestly, would ignore their kids because they're tired. And I totally get that as well. But Yes, it was really overwhelming to hear those kids ask a million different things, and you're like, why would you ask that? But catching myself on that thought, I was like, wait, Anna, this is so much deeper than you might expect, because this is where it all kind of starts. Those children, I think we all as children have this natural curiosity within us. We want to explore everything. We do not understand the world around us, the people around us. So we try to investigate, to be innovative, to develop ourselves through our curiosity, through asking questions. And the craziest thing is that that is beautiful. I think that process is extremely powerful. But all the people around them were ignoring them. Were not able to listen because they're tired or overwhelmed, would get frustrated by all those questions and told them to just be silent, to just shut up about the subject, that if they would grow up, then they would know the answers, to just simply stop asking because it is not that important, or whatever reason you might ever heard in your life. And you slowly saw literally on the faces of these kids, you saw the disencouragement they felt by not getting acknowledged. And somehow that truly triggered something inside of me. It triggered a feeling that I used to have for the longest time during so many different phases of my life. I mean, for example, people who go to university or school or whatever, so many times I was interested in a subject, in knowing more, in developing further than just the course material. But so many times teachers have come up to me and they're like, you know what, Anna, just do not bother asking those questions. You just need to pass the exam. Why would you go beyond the course material? It's not that important. It's not, no. Why do you want to know how this and this functions? Just know how to use it, and that's it. Just stop asking so many questions. And even though I know that most of the teachers or the people around me did never mean to not acknowledge me in that sense, but it did felt like that. It felt like my curiosity was not being encouraged, it was actually being suppressed, because that meant that I was not fitting into the system, that I did not fit into the already paved box that was meant for me somehow. And that I was just honestly, that I was standing out from the other people by asking these questions, by being curious, by wanting to know more, or the fact that I'm interested in different things than other people. And of course, as a teenager, as a young adult, as even a parent, I think you do not want to stand out, because then you get this me versus them kind of thing. So it almost seemed easier to try to fit in so many different places and environments, and to suppress that curiosity, to stop asking questions, to stop bothering being fascinated by the unknown. It was easier to just pretend not to be interested in some things, not to ask further. And right now I realize how big of an impact that made, because even though I can assure you that I found my curiosity back, and I cannot tell you how, honestly, maybe because I started working with kids and I realized wow, those questions are really something powerful and innovative, and it brings you so much further. It provides you growth and new knowledge. And I think that is honestly the most fascinating thing about life, that you can further develop yourself. But in so many different cases, I felt like that was kind of not allowed, that it was not expected for me to grow in my own personal way, but only how it was expected by the societal standards. And maybe this triggers you in some way. Maybe you felt like your curiosity has been suppressed by others or yourself because you simply didn't allow yourself to be curious, to find things out, to do something that might not be the regular way to do it. I remember this one time that I really got into like photographing and especially like analog, and I love taking pictures and developing them. And when I saw the results, I was like, you know what? This is really nice. I really like this. But somehow my curiosity started asking me questions like, how could I make this even more special? How could I experiment with this? And I remember the fear I felt, literally the fear of like messing up, of not being accepted for experimenting, for being curious. What is so insane, because actually it's such a good thing to think beyond the box. This is actually quite insane, but I started grabbing different chemicals and I just put it all over my photographs without any return, right? Like, you only have one chance. And I ended up feeling like, I don't even know how to describe the feeling, just like euphoric in a way that I let, in a way, my inner child, I would say, play again. Like, to be curious is to be in a state of play. And I think as adults, becoming adults, professionals, we are not at the age that we should play, and therefore might consider curiosity as something more childish. That when you grow up, you know what is expected from you, how you should handle, what actions you should take, and therefore your curiosity is not needed anymore. But I believe actually the opposite is true. In a society where everyone is kind of molded in the same way, in the same direction, the people who are standing out, who do follow up on their curiosity, on that natural pull toward certain subjects or environments, I think those people actually become the most successful in the sense of feeling fulfilled by the things they do, because they allow themselves to have that sense of play and experiment. And honestly, I would say that curiosity is also linked to your identity. And that might sound really deep, but what I mean to say with that is the fact that you have this natural pull towards something. Even though right now you might not feel like that is the case, because you kind of lost touch with your curiosity. I believe that that curiosity is a part of ourselves that is so extremely valuable. And because we all have a different form of curiosity, and our curiosity depends so much on who we are as a person, I think therefore it is part of our identity. And by neglecting your curiosity, you are neglecting certain parts of yourself. And I mean, to further develop yourself and who you are as a person, I think experimenting, being in the state of play, the curiosity is a thing that will allow you to be on a different level, to actually get more in touch with yourself, because your curiosity is of great value to you, and not only to you, to the world around you. Even though people have told you that you need to be silent, that you need to stop asking questions, that your questions are not important, not valuable, whatever someone has told you, know that what you think, what you're curious about, is of value to someone. And when you find that person that is also inspired by the same thing, that gets curious because of your curiosity, then you have this chain of positive impact, of experimenting, of developing, of growth. And that is honestly something that I think we do not do and see enough in most environments. we are all kind of shaped in the same form to function in the different institutions we have to go through. But what if you allowed yourself to stand out because of your curiosity? To never stop asking those questions that go that keep on going on in your mind. Because let me tell you that it can be so overwhelming, those thoughts, especially when you do not have the opportunity to share them with anyone. As a child, I truly struggled with the fact that I felt like I did not have that kind of support system in a way that people often would say, like, just shut your mouth, like, do not bother asking those questions. Even though there were some people who definitely did support me in that way, most of the people around me didn't. And honestly, that is also how our society is structured, in my opinion. But not having that meant that I started to think, to believe, literally, that my thoughts, my opinions, what was going on in my mind was not of value. And maybe that's why I started this podcast, honestly, to not only show myself that my thoughts are of value, but also in a way to realize, like, the importance of talking about the thoughts you have. Because as a person that is very analytically built, and I know a lot of people out there are really analytic and observing and reflecting, it can be so heavy to carry all those questions, everything that is going on in your mind, and without feeling like you can share it anywhere. It is only gonna bottle up, And that is honestly, I think, indeed why I wanted to make this podcast. To give myself that opportunity, but also to inspire other people that if they feel like they're in a similar situation, that there is a place to share those thoughts. And literally that there are no thoughts that are unvaluable. Yeah, that is sometimes hard when there's no physical person around you telling you that and acknowledging your questions, because honestly, I think the worst part of sharing your curiosity is then not being acknowledged, not being listened at, not per se not getting an answer. Because sometimes it's okay if somebody does not know the answer. I mean, as kids, you ask a million different things like how do seasons work, etc. How does that function and why? And because of course, sometimes you simply do not have the right answer right away. But simply listening at the other person, showing them that their thoughts, their questions are of value to you, that gives so much safe space and opportunity to further develop, to be encouraged to be curious. So guys, I think that was actually it for today. I just really felt the need to allow you to be curious, even though you have been in situations where nobody allowed you to. I hope you can allow yourself to experiment, to be in a state of play, to actually become closer to yourself again. Because your curiosity is part of your identity and it can help you develop in so many different ways. So I hope you enjoyed listening to it. Definitely let me know what you guys thought. And if you feel called to leave a review, then definitely do. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Bye.